Hello, this is Gary, and welcome to the Pirates Pitching Forum here on DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. Jim, so happy that here you are again for another week of pitching conversations. That's all we ever seem to do here, and it's not our fault. It's just not our fault.
Well, I mean, didn't your parents tell you if there's, nothing nice to say about something in particular, you don't say it. So you talk about the good stuff. And hey, you know what else is good, Gary? Us guys, us bigger guys, we're getting a little bit of hoodie weather right now, isn't it?
Hoodie
Isn't
weather.
like both of us got hoodies. We didn't coordinate this, but like hoodie weather's almost here, dude. Like
I,
I'm happy about that.
I wear a lot of them anyway. I mean, because we just keep the air conditioning low enough. That's right. I'm killing the environment so that I can wear hoodies in the summer. I do it. I don't care.
You
I'm
son of
sorry.
a, you know.
I care about it almost as much as Andrew Heaney's feelings after he got cut and lost a bonus money. I don't care. I just don't. I'm sorry. Horrible person that I am, Jim. But I'm a Pirates fan. I got to take pleasure where it comes, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we got some things to talk about tonight. We have to talk a little bit about Bubba. That's why the joke. It's still pitching season here. I also, man, we got to talk about Braxton Ashcraft. I think the young pitching just keeps piling on, and it keeps looking better and better. Even Carmen Majinski hasn't done anything to get himself kicked out of bed for eating cookies. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, I think there's been some really, really good stuff we've seen on that department. And then there's been some stuff that I kind of wish I could put out of my head because it's given me nightmares a bit, Jim. O'Neal Cruz is too important to this entire even plausibility of turning this thing around. And right now, it don't look so nice watching him play, does it?
It does not, sir.
And then we wanted to talk about, geez, we had so many topic ideas today. How about we get through these two and see how we burn, and then we'll talk about something else.
Noah's coming in hot here with Gary. Do you have an OnlyFans? Man, I hope not. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, no, that's gross. No. No, I actually don't understand the whole thing myself. Period. So whatever.
Dude.
What's this say here? I would not trade any of the young pitchers. Make them piggyback games next year to find room for them. Yeah, Martin. In theory, I understand where you're coming from, and we'll take this into our conversation at this point, sure, Jim. But I guess I get where you're coming from. I just don't think it's something that you can get away with doing for very long. And I think it shortens your bullpen pretty badly when you have that guy that can only go in the certain nights. And I just don't think in practice it ends up working as clean as we've even seen it here in this last week or so. I think they've gotten lucky a few times already that it's worked exactly as they intended. So, and even it's caused a couple awkward, like pulling guys early moments, and
Yeah, I think you hit on it when you said it looks good in these small doses, but like it doesn't take much for it to get really out of whack, and then you've stressed other parts of the staff.
Right.
And so, and then on top of it, Martin, to your comment, I would just say that like eventually you want to get these guys in starting roles and let them start, putting some roots down completely as starters, one way or the other. If they're starters, great. If they're bullpen guys, great. I just think that like let's not get too cute when it comes to some of that stuff.
Well, this is a question for later, but is Cruz turning into Sawinski?
Well,
I don't know if I'm there yet, but I get what you're saying. He certainly looks like it right now. He certainly has shown the capability of drifting into that kind of territory. Let's start with something positive, Jim. Let's go with Bubba.
Yeah.
Because, the decision was made to call him up and then go with the out of the bullpen thing for him. He's done it twice now. Once got him a save in his first opportunity. Very clean 4 innings. Dominant 4 innings. Better than clean, I should say. And
Mhm.
4 more innings. Beautiful. Clean. Gets himself his first win. No complaints. We got to be done with the bullpen, though, right? I mean, don't you think it's time to like give him an actual start? Doesn't it feel like they should at least maybe flip him and Carmen Majinski or Braxton Ashcraft? Or I like Braxton too. He's looked great, you know.
Mhm. Yeah, Ashcraft has done nothing but pitch really well in any role. It's funny. It's kind of weird though. I hadn't thought yet about whether they were going to move Bubba now into the rotation. Um, sure. You've asked the guy to come up and I guess prove it. I don't know if two appearances is proving it, but he's done nothing to say, I'm not ready for this stage. And I would reward it, and I would feed him more. He seems like a guy that responds to that pretty well.
I mean, the easy solution is probably what Matt suggests here, and it is probably just maybe flipping him and Majinski next time. It's not like Majinski should feel hard done by. He's already been a reliever, and he was just filling a hole. I think he just goes kind of back and starts contributing out of the bullpen again. And I don't know how far you can really stretch Bubba this year. I don't think you're going to be getting beyond 4 or 5 innings, no matter where he goes. But it just seems like watching him in the bullpen last night, I was kind of like, I don't like seeing you try to do your starter routine like in the second inning and you're timing it out in the bullpen. Let's let this kid like experience what it's like to go through the game planning and do all the work with Henry and do all the game prep and everything that goes into being a starting pitcher here at this level, and see it run through that for 3-4 weeks, you know?
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, and I think credit to any of these guys that have never really been, especially a Bubba, where he's never really been a bullpen type of guy. It is such a different routine, Gary. So I do think that it's got to be weird for him. You wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know it by how he's pitched. So I would say, yeah, let him run with it a little bit, right?
Yeah.
If it's only 4 or 5 innings, so be it. But at least let him start the game and go through that kind of preparation process.
Yeah. I think that's probably the most effective way to go with it. And somebody had already put in here too, like we haven't seen Barco yet. Well, that's true. We haven't. They may very well feel like that he's a guy that just gets that courtesy start, like on the last day of the year, because they have to add him to the 40 man. And I don't think it's because he's done anything wrong. I think it's because his innings are stretched. They're only letting him go like 3 inning outings here recently, and you do have to be very careful with these guys that have had surgeries and whatnot. And I think that's what they're doing with him. So I'm okay with it. I don't expect to see a whole lot of him up here this year though. What about you, Jim?
No, and I mean it's nice to be even like here we are at the end of the segment, going to break here, and even mentioning a Barco, like that's how long it took for us to get to him, or that Matt mentioned it, which is
It's like
we'd
what
have been
Martin said. It'll be interesting to see which 5 are the starters next year.
right,
Because
right. Like
Jim,
we would have,
I don't even like to mention A5. I know a
yeah,
few of them.
right, yeah. Like 4 years ago, we'd have been talking about Barco for 8 minutes already.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. Not everything's good, but at least on that end it is.
Yeah. It is hard though when you start talking about it. Like you got Skeens, you got Keller, you got Oviedo. I think Oviedo at least should be a planned on starter going into next year.
Absolutely.
And then you've got Bubba, who I mean, I just said last week I wouldn't put him in pen to be in the rotation. I still wouldn't. we've only seen 8 innings from him, guys. I mean, like, the talent's there, but like, I could see it needing a little bit of time next year, maybe.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, he's had two 4 inning appearances. It's looked great, but I don't think you're going to see him just take off like Paul Skeens did. So there'll be some things in here. He's going to give up some runs and some homers at some point, and he'll adjust to it. But teams are going to adjust to him. So let's see how it plays out here over this last month or so.
Yeah, I mean, all in all, though, super positive stuff with Bubba. I've loved watching him pitch. It's been fun. I would like to see the role change a little bit. It's the only comment I really have on him at all. I love it.
And
I think
I will say too, like the Oviedo we mentioned him briefly, really coming around on him, man. He looks different. I think he's confident. He's not losing control of the strike zone as much as he did in the past. I'm really starting to get behind him.
I mean, they made some pretty purposeful changes to his delivery, so and his extension numbers right now,
yes,
are incredible. And we knew what that did for Bailey Falter. Now imagine if you're actually throwing the ball 95, 96 and have that extension. What does it look like? So there's a lot to be liked about Johan Oviedo, to the point where, like, I don't want to kick him out of bed. I don't want to kick him out of the way.
Nope.
I definitely want to try that. So, we should take a break, Jim, because I don't want to shortchange some people, and I do want to talk a little bit more about Braxton Ashcraft and Carmen Majinski, and
sure.
It's just been too much of the story this week, really.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
All right, welcome back to the Pirates Fan Forum here on DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. Jim, let's start with Braxton Ashcraft, because we talked just a couple weeks ago or last week about being in Double-A and just being able to look at somebody and tell that there's something different there.
Right.
That has been, to me, Braxton Ashcraft this whole season. I don't think he'll ever go back to the minor leagues. That's where I'm at on Braxton Ashcraft. No matter what his role is, I just don't think he'll ever go back to the minor leagues.
I agree with you. He has looked the part almost since day one. And pretty polished, don't you think, Gary?
Oh yeah.
There's a polishedness, if that's a word, to him that surprised me a little bit. I knew his stuff was good, but getting to see him more routinely, I just think he pitches like a guy who's been around a little bit longer than he has.
Definitely. And I noticed the maturity. I think it's something that Mike Burrows has too. They've both been around for just about as long. He just hasn't had the hiccups that Burrows has had. Burrows has had some issues giving up the long ball and getting through the lineup more than twice. To be fair, they haven't asked Ashcraft to do that yet until they just did. And he started facing guys for the third time today. And I got to tell you, Jim, the kid's just not fazed by anything they ask him to do.
Mm-hmm.
Start, sure. Throw in the 8th, sure. Give us 3 innings and extras. All right. I mean, he just does whatever they ask, whenever they ask. And if he has an off night, which he's only had a couple, he's right back the next day looking like shiny and new again.
Right.
The kid has really impressed me. He's a physical specimen too. My God.
Right.
That's some beasts.
It's funny you mentioned about when is the right time to start letting some of these guys face that third time through the lineup, right? Like, I think teams are so afraid of that anymore, unless you're considered a very good to elite pitcher, right? Everyone wants to avoid that third time through the lineup thing. But, now's the time to give those guys some of those opportunities, I would think. And maybe that's what you saw with Ashcraft in this last outing. So I would start letting guys dip their toes into that. Burrows too, Ashcraft, anybody that you have designs on, still thinking of them as starters.
Right. I mean, is there anybody that you've rolled out just from what we've seen so far? Is there anybody that, like, if you just really sat there and thought about it, you're like, this isn't going to happen. There's no way that he's going to hang in this rotation. We have too many other guys.
I still come back to Majinski a little bit, just simply because there's been some ups and downs with that. We know how good he can be out of the bullpen, and it just seems like that would be the natural progression if you've got this many other arms. So that would be the guy, but I wouldn't sit here today and like pound the table for it. He's responded really well after that initial rough start with being a starter.
Yeah, like this go around, and I thought it was interesting too. They talked to Strom, and he said that he had gotten Carmen back to throwing the curveball that he used to throw in college. And I don't know if you know this or not, but Carmen had blamed that curveball for his arm troubles, back in college. And so for Strom to be able to convince him to go back to throwing a curveball, first of all, that's trust that you earn through a lot of time and effort, like Strom has. But second, he changed the arm motion so that it's not giving him that same kind of feeling that it was before. So, and it's working. He's throwing it now when he's doing these starts, and it just gives him that extra dimension.
Yeah,
I think that might be what he was missing to maybe get through that third time through the order. So while I just suggested like pulling the plug on him and switching him with Bubba, I feel bad because Carmen, I think, he's worked really hard to like have this opportunity, and he looks like he's earning it too,
Yeah. I just think it's an uphill battle for him with the other names we're talking about. I will say I wasn't aware of that with him with the curve, and it is like once a pitcher thinks something hurt his arm, he does not want to revisit that.
Right.
So it would take a guy like Strom to be able to do that with, trying to kind of walk somebody back from the ledge, because guys, once they feel that something negatively affected their arm, they want to avoid it like the plague, which is understandable. So yeah, we haven't even talked about Jared Jones, which obviously is going to be later in the year, and maybe that's a good thing. There's no rush with him.
Yeah, and maybe Martin's suggestion of putting him in the bullpen makes some sense. I could see that. I could see putting him in the bullpen at least next year. Why not nurse your way back into it? Let him just go out there and go gangbusters in the bullpen, for a season, or half a season. Get yourself ready, and we'll go in the off season and attack being a starter again. Look, we just proved with what we did with Carmen. We're going to be true to our word. We're going to give you an opportunity,
Yeah.
I think they're building up a lot of credibility doing some of this stuff with the pitching. And I know we are probably not gaining any fans by talking positively about something that they're doing developmentally. But listen, Jim, I'm sorry, I just don't detect a whole lot of mistakes being made on the pitching side of things right now.
Well, there really hasn't been, and that's something they've gotten. I mean, we can talk about Dennis Santana, and we can talk about Isaac Matson. Like, it's not just starters that they've done that with. Yes, there are the guys that they seemingly keep giving chances to, like Johan Ramirez, who is the epitome of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah, but he's just filler too.
Yeah, he is. He is. And
Like nobody's bringing him in thinking that he's going to be pitching
No.
here in the playoffs. So this is an innings eater.
Right. At this point, sure. But it's a good idea to like start thinking about this bullpen next year and like making sure that you've got some guys that can really lock it down later. And these are some names that, I worry a little bit about Matson, like long term. They're using him a lot. I think he goes out there and really, basically slits his wrists every time he goes out there competition wise.
I like Matson though. And here's why. Same reason I like Bailey Falter. And I understand that the whole narrative on Bailey Falter has had to drastically switch because he's been traded. So now we got to run him into the ground. But the extension was great, and the fastball played high in the zone. It never was a good idea for a starter concept, but for a reliever, we've seen this work. This worked for Richard Rodriguez too. Like that's a guy that I think you could probably get a year or two. We already got a year. I think you could get another year out of him, but like it's not like I need to extend this guy 12 years or something,
No.
But he's a cool story. I love the pitch. I think he's a little deeper than that though. He's got some sneaky stuff that kind of breaks down the other way too, that can keep people off of it better than some people we've seen like that. So there's a little bit of staying power there, I think. And maybe there's just something to be said for nuts. The dude's got nuts.
Yeah, well, certainly. Like, you'll love to see, like, he pitches like his career's on the line every night, and maybe that's just out of habit at this point for a guy that has had to do that.
I just want to say, Bruce here, Shugart should be here and not Ramirez. Eventually, I believe that's what will happen. Okay, or he'll be one of those extra guys they call up at the beginning of September. But Chase Shugart was a guy that was kind of blocked in Boston's system and wasn't used all that much. This is the most innings he's thrown.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like he's been used heavily in this bullpen. So I think what you're seeing right now is a little bit of okay, we like you and we've got control of you for a long time, aka we care about you, so we're not going to use you and murder you right now.
Yeah,
that's and what Ramirez is here for.
Right, and maybe that's what I'd like them to start doing with Matson just a little bit. I think what I've learned maybe the last few years with bullpen stuff is, boy, you just really can't count on anything year to year, and so like I don't want to run guys into the ground unnecessarily.
No. They've only got one lefty, and that's Sisk. He's not here. Like, you figure he'll be up here in September too. That's a guy that I bet they'll use one or both spots on the bullpen. Don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and then maybe we could see them swap a player or two here or there. But I don't see much. I mean, what would you even swap that would be productive at this point? I want to see Devaney, but they want to see Triolo. So we're not going to see that happen. We're not going to see him play shortstop this year, I don't think. Not a whole lot. Who else would you want? York?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot to pine for at this point. And that's where it starts getting a little bit uglier on that side of the diamond, if you will. I'd still like to see Devaney, just simply because you did trade for him. He is having a good year. Let him get some at-bats and just see. I mean, like, he's 28. I'm not saying you got to play him every day. But other than that, no, I mean, I guess Nick York, maybe.
That's it. And Nick York, where am I playing him? Like I want to see Nick Gonzalez too, and I think it's important to get more of a look at Lieber Piguero. Like it just feels to me like it's just not going to happen. at this point. And the reason that I wouldn't just let York take over for Piguero is because this is the end of the line for Peggy. This last 3 weeks, 4 weeks means a hell of a lot more to Lever Piguero than it does Nick York. It's not like Nick York gets cut if he doesn't turn out this year. They'll give him another chance. He's young. He'll be back next year. Same opportunity he had this year. But for Piguero, this is it. So why would you do that? You've waited this long to give him a chance. You're finally starting to. Now's not the time to do that. Take him through the rest of the way here and see what happens.
Well, it would be a little hypocritical for us to say we've criticized them for not seeing it through at times, right? In the past with guys, never really giving them that full opportunity. Am I a believer in Piguero? No, I am not.
It's too late to give him the type of full opportunity we were talking about. Jim, he's been on the 40-man for 4 years.
Yeah.
They have drugged their feet and, played every game they could along the way. It's their fault that it's in this situation. I'm just saying, for the kid, let him have his audition, at least. We're not going to learn anything about Nick York up here in this couple weeks. That's all I'm saying. If it happens, I don't care, but whatever.
And I don't fully. I think Piguero is what he is at this point. A guy that has some occasional pop. Doesn't embarrass himself in the field, but nothing I would say that's totally above the line. So I think this will play out as I suspect it will. But honestly, again, I'll say it. Who are we really pining for at this point? It's not like we've got all these options.
Let me ask what happens if you call up Nick York and he hits 4 home runs the rest of the way. You're going to be just as excited as you were this whole year based on what he did in his little bit of a taste. The thing that's really confusing about the way Ben Cherington has handled some of the onboarding of guys that he's acquired is there some that he has just dove in head first in with, Tucupita Marcano. God damn if he wasn't going to work out, Jim. Somehow, some way, Tucupita Marcano was going to work out. We were going to use him. Hell, we'd try him at every position there was.
Yes.
And some guys, like Leo Piguero, couldn't sniff the league.
Yeah.
Just couldn't sniff the league. There was no way they were going to let that happen. It just never. Matt Gorski. It should have, if he was going to get an opportunity, it should have been 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I
don't think, Gary, I don't think it changes much even when you get to that level of I don't know. I hate making these kind of comparisons because sometimes I don't think they work with when you're talking about the workplace versus sports and whatever. But I do think people get pegged as certain things, right? And then it's very hard to change the narrative around that. You kind of just get slotted and tiered. And I think that that even happens at that level, the decision's made and boy, you have to really, really do something different to start to change people's minds on that.
It's been a weird season for a lot of this stuff. They felt like a little bit of a run to Alexander Canario.
Mm-hmm.
He did some good things. I think we were starting to feel at least relatively positive about him. He's handling a role. He's playing some good defense. He's making his impact felt, getting at least a base hit everywhere, being one of the more aggressive hitters they have. Not saying he was great or anything. Then all of a sudden it was we don't really care anymore. They brought Tommy Pham back, and it's I understood that you want to try to get something out of Tommy Pham, and boom, it's worked. I can't criticize that. It's worked. Good on you for seeing it. Good on you for getting it. But what happened to Canario? Like, why did he just have to completely stop getting any opportunities because that happened? Like, while Cruz and Reynolds aren't hitting at all, why weren't you giving some more opportunities to Canario? You know, that's all I'm saying, because now we're gonna end this season. Do you know what we're doing with him? Do you know what kind of player he is? Do you give a crap that we have 3 or 4 years of team control of a guy that we don't know anything about? What makes him any better than Peguero?
Well, it'd be very interesting to see, like, you know, with the 300 analytical experts that they have now on staff, how they do all this, because clearly they think they're following a process and looking at data, but from the outside it seems arbitrary at times, and so it's very hard to, like, all you want to do is, like, okay, I don't need to know everything, but I need it to make sense, at least on its face, a little bit.
Yeah, the most confusing one, and there's been a few. I think the stubbornness about Miguel Andujar last year was one that really kind of was silly. I mean, he had been destroying AAA all year, and this team could not hit. And they just waited until, like, the very end of the season. They finally call him up. He looks good, and then they non-tender a guy that they actually, like, could have had, like,
Right.
You know,
Right.
that would have actually filled a role for this team, maybe. And I don't want to have sour grapes over Miguel Andujar. It's not like I care about that in particular player, but explain to me why that's different than what we're seeing with, like, that. Oh, geez, why is his name escaping me now? The dude that's in the minors raking right now that came up here for a little bit and went back down. Little water bug guy.
Oh, Solak.
Yeah. Why is that any different?
Yeah.
He's been destroying AAA all year. They brought him up here, and you can say he failed. Jim, they didn't play him. Like, they brought him up here. They didn't play him. Like, not once. He's tearing up AAA. Like, I'm not saying, again, there was going to be anything there.
Well,
why do you bring these guys in and not even try it when they show you that there's something there?
You know, Gary, maybe it comes down to the fact that, as much as we just talked about the pitching and they seem to know what they're doing, that they don't know what they're doing on with anything offensively. You know, and when there's a decision to be made, it's typically the wrong one. And maybe it's just as simple as that. I mean, you look at Miguel Andujar, Gary, what would the Pirates do with Andujar's 274 at bats? He's hitting .307, 9 homers, 39 RBIs, and an .814 OPS. I don't care if he was in Coors Field doing that.
Right.
Like, he would be one of the better offensive players on the team. So, like, maybe it just comes down to, boy, they've really got the pitching thing. They've really tapped into something on that side. And on the offensive side, they don't know their ass from a hole in the ground.
And more importantly, they don't even know, like, the elements of the game that they're looking for sometimes, it feels like. You know, they go out and they pick up another waiver claim, you know, the other day. It's another middle infielder, Jim, that he plays a little bit of outfield too and whatnot. And there's no power. None.
Yeah.
There hasn't been any. And that's the thing I can't get past. How do you not understand? Like, that's what needs picked up. That's what needs focused on. And when it shows itself, that's what needs called up. Like, under any circumstances, get it up here. I don't care who it's coming from.
Yeah, I mean, before the season started, you knew, like, you were concerned about it. I was super, super concerned about the home runs. I thought, my God, there was no way this team could compete hitting home runs this year. And then you look at next year, aside, I mean, what could you possibly reasonably count on? Okay, you could probably make an argument. Hey, Brian Reynolds will probably be back to doing what Brian Reynolds does. He's not going to be that off. Cruz, hopefully. But like, there's no like sure things there, even next year when it comes to that. So they're going to have to either like give people opportunities that are in the minors that have a little bit of power, or you're going to have to go out and get at least somebody that can hit a home run.
It's why, like, when Ben Charrington or whoever says we're going to have to get better internally, they're not lying. Like, Oneil Cruz, Brian Reynolds, Nick Gonzalez, Spencer Horwitz, and Henry Davis are all going to start next year, Jim. They are, and you know I'm right.
No, they will.
All 5 of those guys are going to start. All 5 of those guys could hit more home runs. You should expect all 5 of those guys to hit more home runs, in fact. But rest assured, all 5 of those guys are playing. And I'm being kind by not adding Jared Triolo. I could. I could add Jared Triolo. And then you're looking at just a quarter outfielder and a third baseman and a DH as far as ways you can actually upgrade this team. How much more power are you adding if you don't believe that you can improve internally? That's the position that this team's in right now. If you don't believe you can improve internally, then shut out the lights.
It's even to the point where, and I hate this type of player now in Major League Baseball. It's even to the point where if you do nothing but maybe hit home runs and get some walks, I'm listening. Like, they need it that badly. Like, we're talking about, there's only one team in baseball that hasn't hit 100 home runs this year. It's the Pirates.
Yeah.
At 98. 98, Gary. We're 27 games left in the season. 98. The San Diego Padres, which is shocking, actually, they're 29th.
That's not shocking at all.
They have, well, I think when you think about a couple of their names,
no, it's San Diego's ballpark, bro.
Yeah, 116 home runs. That's 29th. The Pirates are at 98. Like, it's so bad that I would consider guys that I don't want to say the Joey Gallows of the world, that type of hitter.
No, but you should be like, it's very unlikely to me that Marcelo Zuna is coming here, and he's not a great person, supposedly, all that crap.
Hasn't stopped Ben before.
I would imagine he's going to stay with Atlanta, but who knows? Atlanta might really feel like they need some kind of a jump start and need to spend money elsewhere other than a DH that's aging. Who knows what they want to do? But that's a guy that they should go after. They won't. I mean, like, he'll cost too much money. He's on the downside of whatever he is anyway, probably. Mm-hmm. They should have been in on a guy like Jorge Soler a couple years ago. He's nothing but a home run stick. It's just, you have to have that element. They should be in on like a Matt Chapman or a Donaldson type, for third base. You need somebody that just hits home runs.
Yeah, well, the good news is they'll hit more next year, only by reasoning that you can't possibly hit less than they have this year.
Well, and baseball will change the baseball again too next year.
Well, yeah. So, but it's still the biggest thing that they have to address is they just can't even. There's bad, and then there's the Pirates when it comes to power in this league.
Yeah, I see the wishful thinking of Suarez in the chat. James agrees with you, but no way. There's no way it'll happen. He's old. He's going to want multiple years, and he's going to want way more than they're going to give.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like, that guy is going to go to the highest bidder at this point of his career.
He's going to sign somewhere for 2 or 3 years. He's going to hit home runs like he has this year in one of those years. And then the other 2, he's going to stink out loud. And that's Eugenio Suarez. That's the story of Eugenio Suarez. Look at his career. Visit his reference page. You don't want to be the person giving him that multi-year contract. Let Seattle and Arizona just play ping pong with him for the next couple of years, because I think that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
So
No, I agree, and obviously Ray says home runs cost money, my brothers.
no
Yeah,
doubt. Thank you.
absolutely they do.
Thank you.
So
Oh man, this changes everything, Jim. We definitely should have been doing a different show for the last 5 years.
yeah,
It might have changed every storyline.
it then spend it in one place if you have to, but get something.
That's what I was saying, man. Like if somebody just gave me every cent that he spent in free agency, aside from Andrew McCutchen, and said, "Go get me some power," I feel like I could do better. I feel like I could go out and get one or two players and be better off than everything we tried to do. And I think the benefit of your pitching, you have to use it in some way, shape, or form. You either have to deal it, which, okay, they're uncomfortable with maybe, or you got to use it so that you're not paying for your bullpen. You've got to turn them into bullpen arms. You've got to make sure that you've got so many that you're injury proof. You've got to have some kids like borderline rotten in AAA. You've got to, you got to be able to make sure that you don't need anything else from that.
Right. And I would really, here's the thing, like when I think of like being able to acquire stuff, I'm so much in the trade lane with anything because boy, I don't know how to pronounce that. Ogminio says the free agency class is pretty barren south of Cal Tucker. Well, the names aren't coming here.
Well, we started south of Kyle Tucker before.
Yeah, so the names aren't coming here. We know this. So it's got to be trade and it's got to be surplus from pitching because they don't have a choice whether they come here at that point. So, like, that's the way you got to go with it.
Listen to all these buzzwords coming out, Bruce. Charrington goes for quantity over quality in trades and free agent signings. I think he goes for the best value that he can find in free agency. That's what I think. I think he looks at what he could possibly get for the least amount of money in free agency, which makes total sense. I did too when I was spending, exactly what I was allowed to spend, when I had a budget, you know what I mean? Try to find the cheaper apples. Maybe you don't get the Honey Crisps this week. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying that's exactly what they're doing. And as far as like these trades go, I'm not sure that I understand exactly what people expected for some of these guys that they traded. That's what I'm starting to wonder here. I'm a little confused how Pham didn't get traded. I can't imagine somebody wasn't interested in him. And
very peculiar. Very peculiar.
And he's just continued to kind of destroy baseballs. So there's something weird there, right? I honest to God question, like, really what direction to go from here. I don't know that I want to trade from pitching. I don't want to be stupid with it, at least. And I don't think that there's going to be a lot of people out there just handing over 20 home run guys, like for really anything. Like if Keller finishes this season strong, okay, I guess maybe you've got a case that you could sell him off pretty good. But I think he's owed a decent amount of money, and I don't know that you don't counterbalance his value with his contract, that's owed a little bit. Like, he might not be the best move.
Yeah,
and I don't know that you want to go that young, that quick. I don't know.
I would rather die trying. That I guess, like, if the mistakes are made, and Ben Charrington sure can handle that aspect, I would just rather die trying than to just hold on to it all and hope for the internal improvement. I do think that there's enough pitching here where you have to take some risks on that end with the offense. Do I love the scenario? No, because of who's going to have to do it. But I think we both will agree that in our lifetimes, Gary, this is the most pitching we've ever seen. So like,
For sure.
I would like to try to capitalize on that. I would actually be willing to. I say this is me. Normal fans, the majority won't accept this, but if it didn't work, that would suck. But I would rather do that than just sit here and hope and not do anything and just hope that it came all from within.
Yeah, I'd agree. Let's take a quick break, Jim, and then we'll do call your shot, and that's going to have us talking about a couple other players too.
Yeah, and we want to touch on Mr. Cruz a little more, don't we?
I think so.
All right.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
All right, welcome back to the Pirates Fan Forum. Jim, can I have a personal moment real quick?
Oh, no.
Some of you guys have noticed that there has not been any writing up at Steel City Pirates recently, and that's because I've had to step away from it. Figuring out what I'm going to do, might write someplace else, might write on YouTube even. There's a whole place for it there. I'm figuring it out, okay? 5 Thoughts will come back in some form, but that website's over. I just don't have the time or the bandwidth for it anymore. That's just all there is to it. So I'm sorry. I know that I've let some people down, but I got to think for myself for once. I don't have the time.
Well, and what I will say to that, and I didn't even know you were going to mention that tonight, is I know how busy you are and how much you take on as far as like, obviously we have our own personal lives and jobs and everything, but with just the Pirates and how much that takes up of your time. So, dude, you got to take care of yourself. So
it's just too much. It's just too much. And I'm letting everything fall, juggling too many plates. So let's see if we can do call your shot, because talking about going through it, Taylor and his whole family had AIDS and super clap last week, if it sounds like. So let's see how he's doing before he reads this week's call your shot.
That's right. We're back. It's time for Call Your Shot. What's up, guys? I'm Taylor with Shopiens. Hope you guys are doing well. Had COVID last week. Knocked me out for a while, but I'm back. And another day and another loss for the Bucks on the road. But, hey, thanks for keeping the season going for us, Gary and Jim. Yeah, we'll get to the point. We got a Call Your Shot here from SC Tom. He said, Gary, here's your call your shot for you and Jim to discuss. Who has a better shot, I like what you did there, Tom, to improve their hitting performance in 2026? Henry Davis or O'Neal Cruz? I'm not sure I wouldn't take Davis based on his ability to improve elements of his game. Hey, I like it. I think Henry Davis definitely has a better chance of improving. We've seen what O'Neal can do. He's just hot and cold, but I think Henry can get a little more consistent here in the future. But I got a question though. How the hell did we not trade Tommy Pham? How did no one want this guy? He's tearing it up right now. He's like the only one hitting the ball, and it still doesn't make us any better. But anyways, let's go Bucks. Can't wait for next year, and got my Steelers shirt on for this week. Yin's repping for the black and gold Pirates Pen Steelers year round, baby. Let's get it. We bleed black and gold, and we're fans to the end. See you guys.
I love it, Jim. I love it. I love it. So sell the team, he says. I agree. Let's see. What do we think about that? O'Neal Cruz or Henry Davis, Jim? That's a good question from Tom. Well, O'Neal Cruz has done something in this league already. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
for me to say that, let's say, can O'Neal Cruz like kind of rebound to what he looked like he was getting on to being in like 2022, you know, before the ankle injury? Or is he going to continue to look like a half broken puppy? I mean, like, if he wants it, this is where I'm at on Cruz, man. If he wants it, it's there. I don't think there's anything that he can't do. So I want him to just shut everything off and come back with a fresh, uncluttered mind next year and just hit baseballs. See ball, hit ball. That's it. Get all of it out of your head. Whatever they're telling you, get rid of it. Don't think about walking. Don't think about what you should and shouldn't swing at. Don't think about when you should and shouldn't swing. Just be aggressive. Hit baseballs. If he does that, I just feel by accident that kid's going to have a better year than he has this year. Henry Davis, that's what they're going to challenge him with. The next challenge I see him fail at, you know, besides playing right field, will be the second, I guess. Right?
Yeah.
I trust him to put in the work, and I think he's got a lot shorter trip to consider it improvement.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot to unpack here. Curious to see if you agree with this or if anybody in the chat agrees with this. I would say that, and I will give Henry Davis a ton of credit on the defensive side of things, especially at that position, which, don't get me started. I think Cal Raleigh's getting a raw deal from people thinking that he shouldn't be an MVP winner because his numbers aren't as good as Aaron Judge, and he plays the toughest position in baseball that just beats your ass constantly. I think it's much, and I say this, don't take this out of context. It's much easier to improve defensively than it is to just magically start hitting. Like I think you can really work at your defensive game, and just through sheer effort and work, you can become better defensively. I do not think that translates to hitting nearly as much as it does the defensive side of things.
Well, you're a hockey coach, right?
Yes.
All right. So you're coaching hockey, right? And you get a player that knows how to pass. That's all they know how to do. They can skate and they can pass. You know, from those skill sets, you at least have a wrist shot in there, right? So you've got something to build on, and you can see what's there. Well, that's how I look at Henry. I know the bat speed's there. You know what I mean? I know the power's there. I just think he needs that connection fixed. The bat speed needs to play for you. It just needs to take longer for it to get through the hitting zone. Somebody's going to help him with that at some point. I'm not saying it's going to happen next year. I'm also saying it doesn't really matter as to whether he starts or not for me. I want that guy shepherding my pitching staff. That's just the bottom line. After what I've seen this year, I want him to run this pitching staff. Maybe to the point where I almost don't care about the bat if it takes away from that defense at all.
No, I think they're too invested with Henry at this point. You just have to give him a chance. And if he just turns into pretty much a no-hit catcher that is really good behind the plate and controlling the running game and handling a pitching staff, you're going to have to live with that. The problem is they really can't afford it because they need offense from a lot of different positions that make up for not having
right
these studs that you normally would have in a lineup. But I don't have an issue with Henry in the sense of if he just needs to improve Henry, buddy, please just stand up a little bit and give me 220 and hit some dongers. I'll be totally happy with that, buddy. Just let's.
I kind of think that's what I'm hoping for too, at least as far as the next step goes. I'm not saying like that's where I think he has to max out, but I think the next step is just let's hit over 200.
Yeah.
Let's hit double digit 15 home runs at least, let's say.
Right.
And I think you've got a pretty successful season. Nobody's complaining that you're the starting catcher. You know,
And
what
he'll
I mean?
get paid pretty well to do that.
He'll get paid
in
pretty
this league.
damn well for that. True. That's the truth. As far as Cruz goes, well, Jim, we're getting into like decision time on Cruz, right? You know, this next year is arbitration, so he's going to get paid. He's hurting himself right now on that, right? 18 home runs, and let's be real, it's going to be over 20. He'll run into a couple at some point here. But 20 home runs is going to get you something, right? You know, starting center fielder is going to get you something. But they've got plenty of ways to go after him, too. I could see this being a contested arbitration even. But what do you think? Like 4 million, 5 million? What do you think he's going to get? Do you think that's even a lot, maybe?
I don't pretend to be an arbitration expert, but I do think it could be a situation where there's a little bit more of a tug of war there. And my thing with O'Neal Cruz is like, I just want him. How do you engage him? Like, how do you get him? I think he plays best when he's motivated and engaged in the game. And the Pirates are, man, it's tough, right? You got to come to the ballpark every day and still play baseball, and they stink. I wonder how. I question whether he's a guy you want to commit anything to long term or even short term if he needs that first, right? Like the winning or the motivation, and that it doesn't come from within. I'm seeing a guy that looks a little bit disconnected right now, and so I don't know what. I did not think we would be having this conversation the way the year started, Gary. I'm very confused about O'Neal Cruz right now.
Me too, because there's been some great things. Like the stolen bases, my God, that's great. And when he was getting a whole lot of walks and getting on base and he was hurting them that way, it was okay, you know? And I think we've all wanted him to get a little bit more launch in his home run swing, you know, because he puts plenty of heat on balls, but he doesn't get enough of them up in the air. If he did, I think, you know, he probably could be a bigger home run hitter. There's definitely something there right now. The last, like, really since before the All-Star break, even he has not seemed like a guy that necessarily cared all that much. And I don't just mean like reading his face or whatever. I mean like the swing just is apathetic at some points. Like, and I don't even mean like he's not swinging as hard as he can be. You've seen him when he looks intense at the plate. Like he looks like he's staring holes through the pitcher. He's trying to intimidate them as much as they're trying to intimidate him. Right. He gets on base. He's crouching in all tight and really staring down that pitcher and psyching him out and trying to draw throws to get him. Everything he's doing just looks melancholy right now, doesn't it? Even in the outfield when he catches the ball, you see how he just kind of glove up the last second. You know, it's that whole like that little like, oh, all right, I'll catch it. There's just something that's being said there that I can't put my finger on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, baseball's tough to interpret a lot of this and read these signs because these guys are taught so much not to get up and down, right? Like you can't get too high, you can't get too low, you're going to fail a lot. So I think you do get a lot of like boring personalities in baseball because of that. but we've seen him when he's not like that. So I think it's fair to notice it when it looks different than that, right? Like Gary, I guess if he'd never looked like any of the way you just described him when he's engaged, I would say, well, that's just his personality. He's very, very,
Yeah.
but like we've seen it different. So like this is different than that. So that's why it's fair to bring up, because I don't want people to say, well, like, oh, well, you're trying to read somebody and different this and different that. No, it's different.
Exactly. You're
A
right.
marked change from when we've seen him be very much engaged.
Like, here's Greg Hoyle says, hot take, shop Cruz this winter. Well, I mean, hotter take, Greg. Where are you replacing those 20 home runs from that we already said they were like drastically deficient in? I mean, like, we haven't even hit 100 home runs yet this season, and you want me to happily subtract 18 to 20 for like next year from this group? No way.
When he's the only guy that could probably hit you 30 plus.
See,
I'll take
if this version of Cruz sucks, like what he did this year sucks, I need a sucky guy as my 7 or 8 hitter then. Like, that's good enough for what they're going to have to pay him this year. Let's just say that's not a discussion when you're talking about $4 or $5 million. You start talking about 8, 9, 10, and this is okay. That's different. But this team can't afford that.
Yeah,
and you'd be selling lower than low.
That's what I was waiting to say. If you are shopping O'Neal Cruz right now, you are shopping him at absolute rock bottom, and some team is going to say, sure, we'll take him off your hands, right? Some team that has things set up and in place and they're winning, they'll take O'Neal Cruz off your hands. And I think
he'll immediately hit.
I was just going to say,
because he will not be asked to hit. He won't be asked to be the leader. He won't be asked to be the best player on a team. He'll be asked to go out there and have fun and be himself and energize the stadium and run around like an asshole. And when he makes a mistake, nobody will care because he's like the 7th or 6th best player.
Right. I think you'd be horrified if you saw him go to a few teams, which those would be the ones that would get him, by the way, and see what that turned into. Now, the question is if that's what it takes for O'Neal Cruz to be good, do you want him here long term? Gary, I don't know right now. I don't.
I don't think it would probably be on the table for either of them right now because I don't know how you'd value him.
Oh, I totally agree.
I don't know how you'd put a value on him. I can't sit here and estimate what's going to happen with his arbitration. Because
I would say
if he goes out and if he gets $4 million this year, then he goes out next year and he's like, and his agent wisely tells him, "Hey, do you know how arbitration works?"
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, "What do you mean?" Well, if you play really good this year, next year they have to pay you a lot of money. Remember when I told you that the year before and you ignored me? Well, listen this time. Because if you do, you know what I mean? And you could end up with a $10 million jump in arbitration if he does what he's capable of.
Yeah.
So, like, part of me thinks take advantage of it and, like, lock him down for a couple extra years. You could probably do it relatively cheap right now. Best case scenario, his value increases, you move him later. You're going to need him in this window longer anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I'd probably do that. And he's not Sawinski. The home runs are still here. You don't have zero production. You just don't have the production you dreamed you'd get.
Right. You're still at like near 700 OPS when he's stinking out loud.
Right. Everything's got to be extremes. Everything's got to be the as far as you can possibly go to one side. No. He's not performing as good as we hope he would. He's
No
not
doubt.
achieving hitting his ceiling. But in no way am I saying flush the guy. In no way am I saying he stinks so bad we can't have. I'm looking forward to him being back next year. They desperately need him back next year.
Well, and that's like the end. And I know we got to run. That's like the biggest point in all this to me is like we just sat here and talked about all this pitching. You know, if you had some guy, and I'm not saying this is Cruz, if you had some guy that was an a-hole and a malcontent on the pitching staff, you wanted to get rid of him and move him, great. You've got options. What are you gonna do? Oh, who are you gonna call up for O'Neal Cruz? Like you're almost you're too far into it, and you need him too much at this point, and there's no options behind him. You have to just hope that it catches on, at least in the short term.
Jim, they've actually been playing above 500 baseball under Don Kelly. You know, and it hasn't felt like that all year because at best this team was going to be a 500 team. They got off to a terrible start, and there's been no recovering from it. There's no reason that fans should reset themselves. I understand that. But they have done absolutely nothing to reset things either. Like, they never came out and apologized for starting with Derek Shelton. It's very clear at this point he was the problem, at least as far as turning this into a 500 team. They played like it outside of his tutelage. At the very least, could they not come out and be like, we screwed that up. We've moved on here. I think you can see the results of what's happened now. We should have done that in the beginning. We screwed up. Could they at least do something like that to maybe try to reset things a little bit? It feels like they're going to have to.
Well, will they acknowledge that? I don't know. You know, I don't know, Gary. I will say this for Don Kelly. I think it's hard to keep a team playing hard and competitively once you get into August and September when the season's shot. You would think professionals would handle that well. But Gary, we've had conversations with people off camera. We know that that's not always the case. Sometimes they're not engaged, and sometimes they're not. They are thinking about other things other than baseball and effort and whatever. I will give Don Kelly credit for that. I think there's been very few times where I'm just sitting there thinking this is a team that's not interested in giving an effort and trying to compete to win series. And
No,
we've
but
seen that.
We are saying that there's one player that is, though.
This is
right?
true. This is true, but I think as a whole we have not seen that.
And he's arguably the most important of all of them to get through to.
And maybe and
I just want to leave the O'Neal Cruz thought on one last thing. The Pirates have tried everything to help this kid and shepherd this kid along. They've signed guys specifically to be his buddy. Tommy Pham included this year. Carlos Santana. They've basically said, come on, buddy up with this kid. Help him. Rowdy. Partner with this kid. Come on, take him under your wing. You know, do that. You know, at some point, O'Neal Cruz has to be a man all on his own.
Sure.
And at some point, what happens with O'Neal Cruz's career is on O'Neal Cruz, not anyone else. And the last thing I personally want to say is to those of you that are saying, like, you know, he could just be him, like he's not a kid anymore. Like, here's Ray. Cruz is not a kid anymore. This may be who he is. True. He's still a valuable player. 18 to 25 home runs a year is a valuable player. If this is what he is, and it is this streaky, he's got a job for a long damn time in this league. Just saying. So be careful what you talk about when you say, like, is he just a kid and this is all he's ever going to be. does that equate to you think that we should quit? Because I don't. And if you think we should just move on or cast them aside, where are you getting those 20 home runs? Are we shooting to have like 50 next year? Like, what are we trying to do?
If we were sitting here with Boston's prospects offensively, we'd probably be having a different conversation, but that's just not the reality.
Yeah.
So yes, nobody's happy right now. And he's underachieving and underperforming. And there are serious questions about at this Ray, and you mentioned he's not a kid anymore. He's not. He's to be 27 in October. So yes, it's just time. But like, the Pirates are really not in a position to be turning down a lot of dates at this point. You know,
You're gonna hit home runs. You're gonna keep your job.
Right. I think we're just trying to look at it from both sides, Gary, which is I think what we try to do on a lot of things.
Like Dave says, 4 homers for Schwarber tonight. Back up the Brinks truck. Well, I bet a lot of teams will. At least 2 of them will, and the Pirates won't because Google Maps doesn't even bring the Brinks trucks to PNC Park unless they're picking up bucko bricks to take to the dump. So
yes. Oh God.
Hey man, it was been another good week. I love talking to you, Jim. Good stuff.
Hey, we covered a lot of good stuff tonight. I hope people enjoyed it.
I hope we're talking about pitching again next week because that means the pitching has continued to be awesome. So,
gotta have something good to focus on, buddy.
That's right. Let's go, Bucks. Take it away, Ben.
Let's go, Bucks!
Yeah, buddy.